We find ourselves at a different castle this time, maybe not as excessive and ego-driven as Salazar's, but still home to some of the best looking environments and most disturbing histories we've ever seen from the series. There must be some mysteries to discover here too, we just need to find them. And I think we just did. A little backstory first. This is the Dagger of Death's Flowers. Almost nothing is known about this thing and its holder. The lore surrounding it is shrouded in mystery, with a number of questions to go with it. The only in-game information we have to work with is one note we can find in the attic, stating that it's an antique from the Middle Ages that's coated in numerous poisons for the purpose of killing demons and monsters. On the concept art, it's titled as the Assassin's Dagger. There's also more backstory here confirming that it was used by this man with the intent to kill Lady D a long time ago. Judging by his appearance, this was probably early to mid 1900s, which is also during the time Lady D was infected. To state the obvious, he failed and has been locked in his coffin along with the dagger ever since. This is all we have to work with here. We don't know this man's identity or even how he obtained the knife in the first place. I want to try my best to answer most of these in this video and once again give some closure on this mysterious person's death. Let's start with the most obvious question, who is this man? Well, judging by the fact that he's buried in the most secretive and hardest location to infiltrate in the castle, I think it's pretty clear that he had some kind of relation to Lady D before the assassination attempt. We know that she likes to keep mementos of her victims for decoration or simply for her own amusement. Take the scarecrows outside for example. But this man isn't exactly on show. He's at the other end of this depressing, lonely room, hidden completely under his coffin. This isn't an ordinary victim of hers. If she hated him, she would have chosen a much worse resting place than this. In Ethan's house at the beginning of the game, we see a CD titled Lady D and the Pal Boys. Although it's far-fetched, one of these people could have been the assassin. Maybe he was angry that his newfound fame and wealth in the band stopped when Lady D no longer had interest in jazz and decided to abandon the band. Because there's no mentions or even hints of this in game aside from here, we can only take this as a cool Easter egg with no real substance. It's also funny that CDs didn't exist when Lady D was confirmed to be infected in the 1950s. So either this is a remaster of a much older album, or it's yet another inconsistency from Capcom that we can't really take into account for this investigation. We need to look somewhere else. The dagger itself gives us some clues as to who this might be, as well as a possible motive. We know that the dagger was made in the Middle Ages, which matches the date that the castle was first built, the 15th century. When we examine the knife closer, it's engraved with the Dimitrescu emblem. This suggests that it was made by one of the residents of the castle, or as a gift to the family, and might be as old as the castle itself, being an ancient family heirloom. Assuming they've kept this weapon within the grounds of the castle, this means that this man needed to know where it was in order to use it in the first place, which also means he either worked in the castle for an extended period of time, was an old friend of the family, or even had a romantic relationship with Lady D before her infection, wishing to try and cure her of the curse of immortality before being caught. I personally choose to believe this over the other two theories just because it seems like a better ending for everyone involved. It's possible he's just some random villager who was brave enough to sneak into the castle and just so happened to stumble across her one and only kryptonite, but this seems far less likely. There's still more questions that need answered though. If this dagger had the power to negate her regeneration ability and potentially kill her, why would she keep it close to her? Why didn't she have it destroyed or at least remove the poison after almost being killed by it? One theory that could explain this is that the dagger was being kept in order to kill Miranda. Later on in the game, Heisenberg mentions his hatred and determination to kill her, offering to team up with Ethan to accomplish this.
You and me, Ethan. Together, we can go save Rose, and then we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
We even see Lady D herself show distaste with her decisions on a few occasions.
Mother Miranda, I regret to inform you that Ethan Winters has escaped that fool Heisenberg. Because he is in my castle and has already proven too much for my daughters to handle. When I find him... No, Mother Miranda. Yes, of course, I understand the importance of the ceremony. I won't let you down. To hell with the ceremony! That man will pay for what he's done.
So this makes a lot of sense to me. It was probably hidden like this to stop Miranda ever finding it, which would ruin her element of surprise against her. It's possible this dagger doesn't have the power to kill her, but because Miranda can be hurt with just bullets and Lady D can't, it's safe to say that it could injure her at least. The dagger could have also been kept to give her a way out, because she needs to consume blood regularly to sustain herself. Having the dagger within reach gives her comfort and a solution if disaster struck. What if all the blood in the village suddenly ran out? What if the castle were suddenly under attack like we see with Chris later? If you think about it, it would be really hard to live life in constant fear like this. With that, I'm pretty satisfied with this conclusion, but there's still one more thing that messes with me. Why was the dagger made in the first place? It's easy to assume that it was crafted to kill Lady D and nothing more, but as mentioned at the start of the video, it was made in the Middle Ages to kill demons and monsters according to the note in the attic. So obviously, Lady D or any of the current day villains we meet in the story were never the intended victim. Whoever crafted this weapon put a lot of effort behind it, transfusing it with poisons across Europe. But for who or what exactly? It's possible that there really were monsters in the Resident Evil universe centuries before the series takes place. In Resident Evil 4, we see cave paintings from ancient branches of Los Luminados, possibly dating back thousands of years, long before the times of lab-created bioweapons. A resident of the castle from 500 years ago could have travelled across Europe to craft a weapon powerful enough to kill monsters that are unknown to exist in modern-day Resident Evil, which is pretty scary to think about.
Monsters. Guess after this there'll be one less to worry about.
Although this could just be a fancy looking knife that had an over the top story to match its appearance, and the poison was added later for the assassination attempt. I'll let other people decide this. There is one other character who seems to be more involved with this mystery than I first thought, the Duke, a mysterious guy in his own right and who many people theorise to also be immortal. There's a note in the castle stating that the Duke had business with Lady D. This is quite weird in itself, but it gets even weirder when we dive deeper. One of the founding fathers of the village, and someone who was thought to first commission the construction of the castle, is Caesar, who is a duke also. This is a weird coincidence. Maybe they are the same person and possibly the person who crafted the Dagger of Death's Flowers, because they were both created in the 15th century. This theory lines up pretty well. Let me know what you think about this. I think this is as far as we're going to get. This is one of those obscure mysteries that has always been in the back of my head, and I'm glad that I could bring some more attention to it. For a quick conclusion, I think this man was a close friend or partner of Lady D before her infection, choosing to infiltrate the castle and risk his own life in order to cure her of the effects of the parasite, and the dagger was kept in case she ever wished the same. As for the dagger's original intention, this is something better left unanswered.